Welcome to JewishTV.media. Today I want to talk a little bit about Isaiah 53 and address the objections of the interpretation of Isaiah 53 referring to Israel. It's important to understand that the context of Isaiah 53 comes in the midst of passages which speak about God comforting the Jewish people and the ultimate vindication of the Jewish people in the eyes of all the nations. You see, throughout our history, Jewish people have been frowned upon, have been despised, have been rejected, and quite often it's been cloaked in this righteous indignation from the nations, looking at the Jewish people saying, hey, look, you guys are despised and rejected by God, and therefore we despise you, we reject you, and persecute you. And what Isaiah 53 in context speaks about is how God ultimately bears his arm, reveals his arm to save the Jewish people from persecution, to vindicate them in the eyes of the nation of the world, and to show how the Jewish people were never, ever rejected and despised by God. You might ask, what are you talking about? Of course they were despised and rejected. Why were they thrown out of the land? Why are they under judgment? Why is all this happening? Doesn't Deuteronomy chapter 28, Leviticus chapter 26 speak about what happens when the Jewish people become stiff-necked with God and disobey God's command? Yes, you're right. But what you fail to understand is that God deals with the Jewish people on two levels. God deals with the Jewish people first and foremost on a national level where he sees the entire Jewish people as a corporate entity. And at the same time, he deals with the Jewish people on an individual basis, each person accounting for themselves. Now, when a Jewish person in Israel sins, it is accounted to the entire Jewish nation. Where do we see this? In Joshua chapter 7, when there was booty from a war, and Joshua told the Jewish people that they were not to take from any of that loot, not to take from any of that booty. There was one man, his name was Achan, and he stole from the booty, and it says that God was angered against Israel. Why? Because Israel had sinned against him. But Israel sinned against him? It was just one man. Yes, it was one man. But to God, it's a corporate entity. God sees the whole Jewish people as one. And therefore, when one man sins, all of Israel is accountable. And so yes, we have been exiled from the land. And yes, we are under judgment. But does that mean God despises and rejects the Jewish people? Does God despise and reject the righteous remnant of Israel? Heaven forbid. Never. God never rejects us. God never despises us throughout the exile. So what's going to happen in Isaiah 53? What's going to happen in Isaiah 53 is that the Jewish people are ultimately vindicated in front of all those who believe wrongly that the suffering of the Jewish people comes because they are rejected and despised by God. So when you look at Isaiah 53 next time, remember this: the passage of Isaiah 53 speaks about one thing only, and that is the vindication of the servant of the Lord in the eyes of all the nation. Who is that servant? Starting from Isaiah chapter 40 all the way through to Isaiah 54.
JewishTV.media